for What's Hot, we talk about the stories that have all of us talking.
And we're joined by Rochelle Fritsch, a blogger from MilwaukeeMoms.com. Plus, Brian Fraley is back with us. Well, special delivery from the post office. The Postmaster General wants alcohol to be delivered as a way to raise some cash. Patrick Donahue says delivering alcohol has the potential to raise as much as $50 million a year. The question is it a good idea?
You know, I don't know if it's a good idea, but what came to me when I was reading about this is, was this one of those ideas that came around in a brainstorming session where they were like, no idea is a bad idea? Because I just
need money.
Honest to Pete, because first of all, I didn't even know that sending alcohol was in the post, you know, via posters. It was illegal in the first place. But honestly, how are we going to implement all the checks and balances?
Well, people buy, I mean, they buy like, you know, if you go to a winery, you'll ship wine back.
Right.
Or you might
How
have a
often are you
favorite,
doing
something
that?
out of California. It just probably hasn't been delivered.
I think it's like you
Has to
can
be
only do it in
in-state.
state of like California and Washington,
Oh.
but other states have not been able to do it.
And
Well,
you
maybe
gotta be
this opens
21.
up. Maybe
Look,
this opens
I
things
mean,
up.
why not? I mean, it really, you can buy cigars.
I don't have a problem with
There's
it.
a way you check, you know, with your ID and your credit card and everything to make sure that people are of age. I mean, really, why not? The rules are so arcane right now that they even tell you that if you use old liquor boxes to mail stuff,
Right.
you're supposed to cover the labels. And it's a little ridiculous. Look, there's a lot of things they should do with the post office. One thing they need to do is they need to listen to what the post office is saying they need in order to survive. They keep coming up with these ideas, and then Congress freaks out and says, no, we can't do that.
Right,
And,
but the alternative is a lot of people are going to lose their jobs.
very shortly, unless something is done.
Agree and disagree. I just think that there's going to be a ton of investment into making this happen, marketing, all this other kind of stuff. And I don't know if the investment's going to pan out with a profit.
Well, Rochelle, I will say this. They must come up with a plan that's it's going to cost more to ship the liquor than it is to say, you know, a doll to your daughter. You know, it's not going to be anything that's just like priority mail.
Look, I want to send Sprecher beer to my in-laws in Philadelphia and New Jersey, and I can't.
You just have to drive
this is crazy.
right now.
That is crazy, I agree. All right, coming up.
More of What's Hot.
Again, we are joined by Rochelle Fritsch and Brian Fraley, managing editor of Right Wisconsin. More young adults living at home with mom and dad. 21.6 million 18 to 31-year-olds have not left the nest. That's an increase from 6 years ago. A big factor, of course, declining employment. Another interesting finding, men are more likely to hang at home than women. What's a parent to do is the question.
I tell you, welcome to Barack Obama's economy, where you can't get a job and you have to stay in your parents' basement until you're 31. Look, what's a parent to do? Put them to work. And if they don't have a job, or if they can't afford to get on their own, at least make them help out around the house. I mean, they should be doing everything.
Oh yeah, you're cleaning the house, you're cooking.
And you know, if you're not charging them rent, you should at least be keeping tabs. This is how much you saved while you were sleeping in our basement.
Cut the umbilical cord, I say.
Absolutely.
Well, there is that. And I agree with you, but here's the other thing. I also think that we have to think about, as parents, like right now I have a 10-year-old, changing our expectations and also changing our kids' expectations. Along with the economy, I think that folks are staying home because there's an expectation subconsciously from mom and dad that we'll pay for school, we'll do this, we'll do that. There's an expectation of these kids leaving college that, you know what, your first couple of years are probably going to be a little bit crappy, and there's probably going to be a lot of ramen noodles eaten. So rather than do that, and rather than parents see their kids do that, well, you come back home. We don't want you to go through that.
We don't want to see them fail.
I can tell you that
So
will
we don't let
that will
them
not
fall.
be the expectation at my house. I can tell you that.
You know what's
mine
funny
either.
is if you look at Italy, this is
Yes.
perfectly okay.
Yes.
Especially the men.
they
They
get
live
married,
at home
right?
with mommy.
Oh,
yeah.
sure. Where they work
They
22
get their laundry
hours.
done.
Well, they work 22 hours a week. They're complete. You know, if they're not dependent on their parents, they're dependent on the government. I don't think we want to go the way of Western Europe.
No, and I don't think I don't know. I'm disturbed by the fact. I understand, come home if you need to, but the whole
If you're in
idea
dire
is,
straits.
Always.
that once you are a baby and we let you go, that you learn what the world is about. And if you have problems, come back home. We understand that.
Right.
But not here's the key, we'll see you in 4 years.
But
Agreed.
and I think that's what needs to change, though. Even though there is that expectation, I just think when push comes to shove, mom and dad don't want to see that kid struggle and suffer because they remember what it was like. So you come on back home. I don't know. I'm singing a different song to our child.
And I'm
That's all I'm
listening.
saying.
Well, let's talk about our final What's Hot topic. Many of us dream of owning our own home, yes, once we get out of home with our parents. But being a homeowner doesn't come cheap. Imagine building your own home for less than $35,000. Architects and a designer are all coming up with these solutions to deal with the skyrocketing issue of property taxes and property prices. So would you buy a home that you could build for $35,000?
I wouldn't.
Not if you can huff and puff and blow it
Exactly,
down. No.
but it depends. And in certain parts of the country, and for certain people, there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. If it's your first time home and it's an area that's developed, and there's the safety issue. I mean, if it can be safe, if it's not a fire hazard, if it's not going to get blown over with a stiff wind, maybe
I would
that's
say
an
though,
answer.
do your research because you want to
Absolutely.
make sure that it's constructed properly because it can cost you hundreds of thousands on the back end if it's not.
Exactly. To me, it's a wonderful idea. And again, with all the considerations of stability, area of the country, and everything else, but I think it begs the larger question. Some people may look at this and say, cool, we can all jump on the bandwagon. People that have problems with housing can look at this, but we also have to look at people's access to things like a computer to get to these schematics, the ability to read the schematics, what type of education they've had that will enable them to, as well as do they have the capital to put into doing all of this.
And can you put this $35,000 house in any neighborhood?
There's that.
That's just it. I'm sure
There's
there's going to
that.
be
Is it going to be not in my
city
backyard?
ordinances, not in my
Right.
backyard. That's
Right.
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 All right, Brian.